Avalanche, round 2, fight! Alright, so do you go first or second? It's your deck. Oh, he already chose first. Would you go to first?
I would have gone second.
Yeah, me too, right? Like, I think well, you do have Kirby. Going first with Kirby is good. Going first with Jar is obviously good. Going first with Transport. Oh, so there are 3 cards in this.
Yeah.
There's actually 3 of those. So there are 5 cards that are good to have that alpha start
There's the Jar.
play. Alright, if this is not City State, there we are. Now let's see what happens. This is the scenario I said. Jar is one.
There's the library card though.
Yeah, that's fine. Jar is mind-warpingly good. Outside of Lateral Shift, it probably is the next best card. So let's see what happens now. Because there's a lot of shenanigans that we saw happen last game that literally cannot happen now. There's another red creature off of Kirby. It's making me sad.
We got Stirring Grave, so we archived Stirring Grave, but we whiffed on an Anthony.
One Anthony, yeah, but it does cycle. First cycle does tend to go pretty fast, and you're not looking at your stuff being purged, right? Tamar does not do that. It is off meta as far as that stuff goes. So you're going to see your Anthonys again most games. There's an early gateway on the other side. I think that is actually a really good thing for Philly. That's 3 chains, allows Philly to Alnec to do what it needs to do. Gives you a little bit more time to set up something crazy with your Harbinger maybe. And a 1 creature sloth is actually not a big deal.
Well, the Soul Keeper might end up getting a lot of Ember over the course of the game here with that Soul Keeper. We'll see.
Unfortunate hands. We're just dumping stuff, dumping cards.
Yep. And that's where Alnec can struggle sometimes.
This is where I wish I knew what was on the hands, because if he had that Demo Beast in his hand when he played Kirby, I would be throwing a fit right now. Now he's forcing him back into Untamed. Probably doesn't want to do that. Reaping with Sloth is the same thing as not Reaping with Sloth because of the way.
I feel like thematically you have to not reap there. Come on, Dhaus.
I probably wouldn't have either. But then it makes you click that stupid button again.
It does.
That was a full turn skip, control the weak style though.
Yeah, that was a good move, Dhaus.
Already up a key. Forge Compiler, we already talked about how significant that can be. Early auto encoder.
Now, he did not activate the library card. That's interesting. I guess it was 3-card play. He's hoping to save it for more.
If he wants his Q-Mech turn, his Q-Mech and his Letho turn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As far as card draws go, Letho is kind of phase shift in its value. It's the double, and then the Q-Mechs are you just hoping to draw the logos. Yep. But to your point, we see 4 logos cards on the board, and there are 2 in the discard pile. So, you're probably not drawing into logos with those Q-Mechs. I think I just killed Daughter here.
Huh. Yeah, he's thinking about it.
That's my call here.
You get the Ember, you get rid of... Oh, he goes back to Disc.
He does go to Sloth.
So there's been...
That's super sad. Mindfire hit a banned card from Jar. That is my kind of luck, actually. Stirring Grave on the Anthony.
Sometimes that's why you have to play Mindfire before some of these big decision cards, because that might make you lean one way or another, right?
Yeah. There's Desire again. Let's see if it gets access denied for the second. Although this time it is affecting Philly way more than before.
Yep.
So all he was able to play was Desire, but because of the way Sloth works, he did get 2 Amber still.
So I guess it could have been worse, right? He could have... Well, actually, no. Well, I guess he would have... There's nothing that exciting to Stirring Grave, so...
Oh, there we go. Kirby landing a Harbinger, another Kirby. Do we get Lumilu or Niflate?
Oh, he
Hey,
did the
there's-
Access Denied again.
All right, we're purging cards.
Oh,
Like, let's
Kirby
look.
Infernus.
Obviously purging the Mark and the Lethologica.
Yeah,
Mark Lethologica.
Yeah, we still got the library card on board.
And we get Mark Stirring Grave.
Great, interesting.
Okay.
So I guess he doesn't want to see. He wants to limit how much he sees the sins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument there.
I still think you're talking about second cycle, and on second cycle, like they're normally pushing for the win, that kind of thing. So I go Lethologica every time if it's in the discard, because that makes that second time around just stupid.
Yeah, we haven't seen much Saurian yet, so it could.
Yeah, I'm expecting 4 cards here.
Yeah.
4 or 5. So there's the Forum, which I think this time might bite him in the butt, which we'll see.
Yeah, it's pretty early. I might.
I mean, we've talked about them with cast before. Like this, basically every time you play, like your opponent board wipes, you give them an amber because they control it. It's the most recently from when it triggers. And we know that we're not going to see City State Ancient Power this time because City State's been banned, jarred, it's been put in the box. So we'll probably see. Oh no, he already actually did accidentally discard a City State.
I think,
there's the Axiom.
Oh, interesting. Do we see a Gladiodontus?
There's the Shrix, the Cantina again,
again.
and the Gladio.
He has the auto encoder out though.
See a chant that's just moving stuff around this time though. He is going to get one from Sloth at the end of this too. Oh, and they're all going to be warded. That's
because he killed off.
That's pretty big.
Interesting.
Yeah, that Forge Compiler was huge here. Yeah, now he has a full warded board. So yeah, that is going to give him that form of Giants value again. Man, as much as I hate that card, that's looking to be real good.
Big. Yeah, look at those wards.
I don't know what there's no auto out of this. Even if he has a Mark and Gateway, you kill one thing? Don't even know what you're targeting.
Yeah. He's still got 12 cards left, right? He's got to hope to use that Gateway, I think, more than once throughout the course of this game.
Yeah. He's definitely
Good move. There you go. Yes, it was.
Distributing the good move to the opponents. I guess he wasn't thinking he was going to Forge.
Yeah, Forge Compiler. I do really like Forge Compiler.
It does work, especially with some of the decks that it is in. This is one of them. You've got Sins, you've got Daughters. The way your Saurians are working out, he is going for the Mark of Dis and the Gateway. Just to put some work in. Dhaus immediately gets a buck from the Forum. And he drew into some Saurian groups.
Saurian Egg. Never liked the Saurian Egg.
I like it as an Amber Bank. I don't ever use its ability. I just use it to capture.
Yeah, it always feels bad when you're trashing your stuff and when you put stuff into play with play effects.
Yeah. We're gonna see the Anthony. Oh, yep, there's the answer.
All right.
Well, no, transporter platform.
Yeah, I mean, transporter platform.
Another Amber
okay.
from Forum.
It's okay in here in this deck. It's good for the silliness with the Kirby and Furnace.
I mean, I think he just goes back to freaking screen here, right?
I mean,
he gains 4 and kills something.
Yeah, force your opponent to
and he's in the rare scenario where he could actually use the egg on a Saurian turn.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess there are no more creatures that he can get, but he could cycle his deck depending on. Oh, no, we're going logos. Do we see the library card now? There it is.
All right.
So I'm assuming we're seeing Cubex. There's a Quixo. Welcome. Eclectic.
Archive some stuff.
Second daughter. First one's still alive. Group Think Tank. Just a body. QMX draw 2 cards.
Now you're getting cards. Now you're going to flip your deck.
QMX draw 2 cards. Infomorph.
Yup. You know the gateway's been played. You know he's got to flip to use it. Now we're scrolling on my screen. That's how many creatures we got.
We still got a Reap coming from the daughter, yep.
That was big.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for this. The answer is literally the top card of the discard pile.
Yep.
Well, and we saw it this time. This was actually Jar City State turn 1. And in the end, I don't think that's gonna matter. Like, you just reap out from here, right? It's just don't care about what your opponent's. You're getting 1 Amber a turn just from having Gladiodontus. Pick a house, reap.
Yep, there's the second key.
I mean, like, he can go into logos right now and reap for 7.
Pretty good.
He's getting 1 from Anthony every turn. He's getting 1 from Forum every turn. So that's technically even that would actually be 9.
Your Eat Sloth is. Oh no, you would be getting Sloth.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, it would still reap for 7. Get 1 from Forum. Get 1 from Anthony.
Yeah, logos. Just reap it out.
Yep. There's a certain team out there that'd be very proud of this turn.
Is it ABR? Must be ABR.
Yeah. Is that a team league? I don't know.
All the above.
So that's 7 that we see. It's effectively 9 because we know. Yeah, like it's. So that means Garcia doesn't stop this, even though it would look like it would.
Pismar's already on board, but behind in mutants.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I think we're just. Yeah, that means it's over. That's There's nothing in Untamed that is going to do this.
He's not, unless he's down by 1. Are they tied on mutants? But even so, it'll be 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's going in Untamed means that the game is over.
Yep.
Does kill the Strix. Just
for funsies.
Just for...
Gets burst with that.
Oh, he did steal 2. Oh, still got the 6.
For the
still got the 6.
Forgot about the Stampede.
Wasn't enough. He would have had to beat him out on mutants as well. Didn't get the mutant count to carry it. That was cool. We got to see Stampede fire.
Yeah, you know. Foe crushing on turn 1. Not crushing enough. That was good. I thought both players, right? We were going back and forth on what they should do, but I thought they both overall played pretty well. And
let's see
yeah.
if we can get them in here. Okay, so let's see that.
Maybe.
How do we get them back?
Yeah, I think because we ask them if they can join. Ha.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Hey there. We got one.
Yay!
All right. Well, Dhaus hasn't come in yet, but hopefully he does. So, before we talk about the game, how was your round robin experience? I probably went a little bit better than this initial thing right here.
Yeah, it did. And I was kind of surprised at first when I was the 38th draft pick. You know, I kind of thought, well, this is just like the leftovers, right? And then, so I just picked something that I was going to have fun with, like Market Disk Gateway, transporter platform with the subject Kirby's, and like I really like Dark Harbinger. So,
Hello?
hey,
Hey.
I just
Hey, we got them both.
that
So
was-
Philly's going over his round robin experience. So,
Got it. Okay.
I just kind of picked stuff that I thought would be fun, and then I think I lost my very first game to a heavy Saurian lineup. I'm like, well, this is how this round robin's going to go. But then I won the next two, and I won a lot after that. I'm just like, wow, this deck is really chugging along. It has a really nice Untamed Amber Burst, and you know, the Anthonys can do some good stuff against most decks. Against my opponent here tonight, the Anthonys, they didn't seem like they could do as much. But yeah, it was fun. I only had one loss. I started 3-0. I had my one loss. I had already guaranteed made cut, but it was to a deck that had 19C. So, but it was either that or you guys were talking about it in the podcast. So I kind of think there was a little bit of a curse going on there in that last game.
oh no. I was rooting for it because, like, I have played Elnick as well. I had a lot of fun with it. I really like what you can do with the Kirby's in relation to the other two houses, as far as like functionally making you call less of like the Untamed house. So when you do go in all Untamed, you're hoping to just do the one Dark Harbinger trick and then just go back to like the value distance our alliance. Unfortunately, in both games, we never got to see you use transporter platform because that helps that whole thing quite a bit. Be able to like to double slam the Kirby or to set up the Anthony Amber Lock thing, and we never got to see any of that just because of the way the cycle came.
It came out late, and well, it's in my hand in the second game right now, but I just could never get it out. So, way it goes, I guess.
It is Keyforge that we are at the whim of the Crucible. So. Dhaus, talk to us about your round robber experience leading up to the game, because you were also a low pick. You were pick 33, so y'all were picking in the same bucket. The same 20 decks were available to make your decisions. And I mentioned this on the recap of the round robin. Like Tamar's like Stomach of the Rabid Market is one of the decks that I probably saw the most often throughout all of the buckets drafting. It just like was like one or two lower on their list from where people were getting their decks. So like it was picked a lot, but obviously no one got that information. I just remember seeing it quite often. So talk about how like what led you to that deck and how you did your round robin.
Yeah, to be fair, I think you know, I was looking at the decks and I saw Tamar, Stomach of the Rabid Market. And first of all, fantastic name for a deck. You know, King Potato style. But I was looking at it, and I was even talking to a buddy, Jay Bray, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to pick. I want to take this Tamar deck. and he's like, "You're crazy. That deck is not gonna work for all the reasons." And then I think I let him speak into that. So I did. My number one pick was a different deck. I can't remember which deck it was, but I think this was number 2 or 3. But so I got this, and immediately he was giving me some trash talk. He's like, "You're gonna scrub out. It's over. Like, you're not gonna win with this." And so it was fun in my practice rounds, just getting used to the combinations. And there is I have always been a player attracted to big win or lose combos. In every game I've ever played, the idea of pulling off that one trick, that one phenomenal fireworks play, has always been appealing. And for this deck in particular, to be able to threaten the gluttony, city-state interest, ancient power, big phenomenal play, sometimes just the threat of it has been enough. So I definitely think the Four Sins, being able to play that, especially with Sloth. I mean, Sloth, I wish I could go back and count how much Amber Sloth gave me over the course of this tournament, because I would say it's probably worth many keys. But sometimes Sloth is not the ideal candidate for killing. Sometimes it's the gluttony. Sometimes it is the Wrath, or sometimes it is the Faust. And so there's a lot of really powerful creatures in this deck that I think make it work. So I've really been enjoying playing this.
So I actually have the answer to you. Do you want to know what your first pick was that you submitted in your bucket?
Yes, please tell me.
It was Adder, Ship Bruff Researcher.
Wait,
Drascore, does that sound familiar?
That's the deck that I picked and did terrible with. So you should be happy. You should be very happy. You did not get Adder.
I do love that. Thank you, Drascore. Thanks for taking that.
Well, as soon as you said, like, "Oh, I like these combo things that try to make it work," I was like, "Oh, that sounds like me." I was like, "I wonder if he put Adder as his first one," and you did.
Yeah, you were going for this triple Eddie, double EE, double ancient power.
Yep, that sounds right.
It even has Graft in here. Like, on paper, Adder looks pretty dang good.
I mean, it's got huge burst, but just the low C was such a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's got just the Axiom, and and Harvest Time is,
and that's it. After Axiom and Harvest Time, you're done.
And that's it.
And that was rough in this field, because like Axiom doesn't work against everyone that you need it to work against.
Yeah, and I'm running a doubled city-state interest, so Axiom wasn't great. The gateway to this, even in this matchup, definitely alarmed me, but that's why I was going for more of the warding than I would typically do, to just try to be like, I just want extra insurance against the gateway.
Well, and I feel in both games, Forge Compiler was like kind of a low-key all-star. Like, it straight up won game 1.
Oh, the whole tournament. The whole tournament it has been.
It was just like, boom.
The whole tournament. It's been that way, because even with the... Even it's hilarious. Like, you play these little Q-mechs, and, they capture Amber with City State or whatever, and then they get warded, and you're faced with this, like, situation where you're like, do I really want to spend all that energy, knocking off a ward and killing a Q-Mex for one Amber? And so I've finished a lot of games with like one Amber on a warded Q-Mex, because who wants to spend time doing that? So Forge Compiler has definitely been an MVP this tournament.
That's pretty cool. And like, as much as I hate Forum of Giants, because of the way your Ancient Power and your Forge Compiler worked, in every case you got value out of it. Like, I've watched tons of games, played tons of games where I see somebody play that card, and they either give their opponent X amount of Amber or just straight up lose the game because they played the card. So you are like the corner case where this is actually how you play this card in a deck that can and should play the card, where there's a whole bunch of opposite of that happening in the real.
I actually think you can go to, like, I recorded one of my matches. I didn't record all my matches, but one of them, there was like a game 2 of one match. I can't remember who it was, but I played Forum of Giants, and every single round I was giving him Amber. And I was like, I should not have played this. I'm an idiot. Like, and I was salty on the recording. And then game 3, it turned around and like it gave me all the value back, and I ended up winning game 3 of that match.
That's awesome.
But it does with the Gladiodontus, like it does sit on the table at 15 power for a long time. You've got a lot of big creatures in Saurian and in Dis. I mean, you've got a couple 5s and a 6. So it's pretty easy to keep that consistent.
That last game, I was like, I had a decision to make. It's like, you had everything warded. I could mark of Dis something and kill it with the gateway. And I was like, do I do Gladiodontus to get rid of that? Or do I take out the Senator Quintina? I was like, maybe it would have been a smarter choice, but I knew if I was going to come back and win, I was going to have to reap. And like, I just figured needed to not give you that extra amber by reaping and putting all the amber on the creatures.
Yeah, for sure. And there's like a weird combo with Gluttony and Senator Quintana that makes Senator Quintana a very powerful like offensive weapon. If he's on the board, and then Gluttony is able to reap. So you just get all that amber. So I definitely understand why you went that way.
Well, and like on the other end, like we didn't see it in this game, but just having Gluttony in a deck where you also have Mark of Dis, like that just skyrockets the chances that you actually get to use Gluttony. Because like obviously we're playing online here. I am assuming both of you have like the BOK up for your opponents. You can literally like look over there, hover over their seat, and figure out what they have left.
Yeah.
Like so, like Mark of Dis plus Gluttony is a real thing. It's a little bit less of a home run type thing in real life, but like online, that's money. So I could definitely see that paying huge dividends throughout the event. So so 2-0. I know that was a little rough because mainly the Forge compiler just kind of went off on you, Philly. But game 2 looked like you had a chance in the mid. Like so, when you initially got out City State, what was the plan going from there? Because we know what happened in game 1. Like the City State just kind of crushed you, and it was game over as soon as City State Ancient Power came out. It was like you even called it. It's like, well, that's over. Good play.
Yeah.
But game 2, turn 1, you jar a City State. Draz and I were both like 100%. That's what you do. So what was the game plan and thought going forward from there? Because I think that was looking really good for you, and then didn't happen.
Well, and did practice this matchup a little bit, so I will say that I'm not surprised about the outcome, just based on practice. But the plan going in was to Edens jar the City State. In game 1, he'd already played one, and I was like, all right, there's only like one more here. But he's like, if he plays that library card, that could be a big swing too. So I switched up my plan that I would normally do in game 1. So that's why I kind of made that decision. In game 2, went with the original plan, do the City State, because that's a lot of his amber.
It's like literally half. We talked about it in the show before where we did the wrap.
And that kind of shuts down the Gluttony combo a little bit too. But
and the Ancient Power. Like there's a lot of stuff that right on that City State.
Yeah. But I kind of, the way things were going, it's like I knew in order to win, I'd have to have like Dark Harbinger go off, and I'd have to have library card be a death. And so like didn't get those things to go my way. Didn't really get the transporter platform out, but the Forge compiler there, that was a big thing. So in game 2 there, I had Mark of Dis and Gateway in my hand, and he had like Desire out and some other stuff, and so I was kind of setting up a Dis turn where hopefully I like give him a dead turn, and then he takes out his own Desire, the Gateway or whatever, and so then I'm sitting there with half my hand being Dis and some other like stuff that would be like a 2-card play or something like that. I'm like, oof, this is tough. What do I do? So then I end up with like the dead turn, basically take the 3 chains just to get the wards off, and then wasn't really able to recover after that.
Because I think that's where he used Axiom to kill Desire, and then that made you Forge and warded up his whole board. Like that was
big.
That was huge. And like at that point, like we were even talking about like if you have Marketer's Gateway, it'll wipe all this stuff. Like this is probably your win. And then when Dhaus did that, I was like, oh man, like there it goes. And that
was
basically,
the plan, and you just said nope.
And then that's your one answer, and like that's what Draz had experienced because he owns the deck. It's like it's got this one way to clear the board. So like if they come back after that, and MM is famous for like, okay, you cleared the board once, now do it again. Okay, now do it again. Like that's what MM does. It makes you just keep doing that. And like a lot of decks aren't designed to do it. So and that's what we saw.
I've got Implosion, and I've got Gateway to this deck, and I've got a Time of Right. So it's like I got to hold on to them.
So it was interesting you mentioned needing to really like had a lot of value on the library card when I'm sure if you watch this back, I'm sure you'll hear Chaz and me talking about it. On game 1, when you go to make that decision as far as like what to jar, like I was in the camp that where I think you just still go ahead and do City State, so you just don't see that combo in the late because the late game City State is more valuable than the early one. Yeah. But Draz's perception was to go ahead because at that point Forge Compiler hadn't been played yet, to go ahead and get that offline, which I'm pretty sure it hadn't been played yet. And I think in the end, Draz might have been right about that. Like I have never seen Forge Compiler do what it did in this 2 games. Like that's crazy.
I mean, 100%. You know, I've got a ton of decks where Forge Compiler is just like almost a dead card, and so I probably didn't get the respect it deserved.
Oh, I agree with you. Like that's just one of those cards. When I see it, I kind of shrug at it. And I think I have it in maybe 3 decks, but there is one deck that does actually have Ultra Gravitron. So like that part's kind of cool that I can play it in a turn they're about to forge. So I end up with like I think it also has 2 QMechs. So it's like QMech, Ultra. All right, you forge key. Now I have these warded QMechs and a warded Ultra. So deal with it. And but again, that's still not that big of a deal even in that deck. Whereas in this deck, it is leveraging the value of Sloth, the Daughters, the Faust, the Gluttony. Like there's so much that it is doing for this deck. Because like you need time for Gluttony, right? You need time, like you need your stuff to actually live through board wipe for Forum to matter. There's just a lot that's feeding off of what is normally just like, oh, whatever. Yeah, you have that card in your deck. Who cares? And I think that was the game. Like, I never would have jarred like Force Compiler, but Dress might be right. Like that probably was the decision there after being the first City State. So.
Yeah.
I mean, based on the results of the whole league, like I hate giving away secrets for the top 8, but obviously there's nothing on the line here, and I'd be very close to agree with you too there. I mean, in every single match, I think if you went back and talked to all the opponents, like I think Forge Compiler had like pretty phenomenal value, just because just the value of each individual creature if you think of the Daughters, the Sins, the Fausts, the Quintanas, like it's just every creature has its own unique value. So figuring out when to like let that Forge go through with the Desire and the Faust and stuff like that it's a fun little puzzle to this deck that I've enjoyed.
That is part of Keyforge, right? Like learning, playing. I mean, because there's certain I don't think anyone would ever assume the value of that card in this deck by looking at a list. Like, no one, right? And now we know. Like, we've seen it. And I think, to me, that's one of the most fun things about Keyforge. It's like, for whatever reason, we end up playing certain decks for certain reasons. You just learn more about Keyforge through playing more stuff.
Yep.
That's all. Oh, go.
Even with the taking out the City States and all the value and combos that those do, this deck still has other tools, other things it's got going for it, like Library Card and Forge Compiler and like the Sins and stuff like that it can still do things even if you take away some of its tools. It's dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. And to assuage some of your fears about giveaway strategies, there are no more jars left in the tournament. You just
thank goodness.
you only jar. Yes. You don't have to worry about that scenario.
That is music to my ears.
Because that is a pretty. I mean, like, whether it was somehow they did manage to name Forge Compiler, or in this case, like I seriously do think in game 2 had he jars turn 1 and then we see Transporter Platform turn 2, like that gets real bad for you real fast. Because
Yes,
like
agreed.
at that point his tempo is going to go through the roof. He's going to most likely hit that crazy Untamed turn because the using the Transporter Platform to double play Kirby just allows you to set that up, because you're playing like, you know, a chunk of your discard, you're playing all of the Untamed cards you don't want to do the combo with, and then you're just going to see a ton of Amber at some point.
Yeah. Yep.
And we talked about it. Neither deck has a way. Like Anthony is just like a fancy miasma. Neither deck has a way to crush a large amount of Amber. They just don't do that. Like the best thing we saw and it could do, which we kind of saw a mini version of that, was the City State Gluttony, which can happen, and we saw like it do a little bit of that, but not in its full swing. But neither one of them is. If you're forging 20, you probably win the game.
Yep. And I'll say too, like I think it's interesting, like even looking at DOK right now, Wrath, when you look at the creature control, is a 0.73. And I think in this deck in particular, that Skirmish Poison and for every friendly sync creature and rage an enemy creature, it might have a higher value, because when it's like, hey, if you don't have the board wipes, like you're probably not killing my board with all the warding. So
yeah,
Wrath has been an MVP throughout this whole tournament.
Because like even the protects creatures, because that's the synergy that should like make this thing better or whatever. It's not going to fully see that. Like the normal, like Forge Compiler is only going to have a certain value of protects creatures, and it's never going to be what we saw in these games. So like it's actually like should have a much larger creature protection in the way that it was happening here. That's just never going to be accounted for by SAS. Like there's just certain things that are going to be really good in certain decks that are like SAS in a way wasn't really even meant to capture that. Right? 'Cause it just wants the normalized values.
Yep.
And that's what we got to see today. Something cool. That's all I got, Travis. You got anything else to ask them?
Oh, no. This was a ton of fun. Guys, great game. Thanks for letting us record and chat about it.
One more comment.
Oh,
well, yeah. I was about to... Final words from Philly, and then Dhaus, you're going to be... everything in the top 8 will be recorded, so we'll see you again. But final words from Philly?
So, I was talking to Draz early July, and I was like, hey, look at this deck I just opened, blah, blah, blah. So he said, you know, Philly, you inspired me, so I opened a deck. And which one was it, Draz?
Was it this one?
It was this one.
Was it?
And then...
See, it was meant to be.
Yeah. And I had no idea. Like, then when I was, like, picking things out in the draft, I was like, oh, this one looks fun. I had forgotten about your deck, Draz. And I just, like, ended up with it.
I thought maybe because we knew each other, like you would pick things like, oh, Draz plays this deck, like that'll be a fun thing for us to chat about or something, you know.
Yeah.
But no, just on its own merits.
Yeah.
I still just love that it was picked after you picked and it got further. Like that's my favorite.
Yep. It's I did it just to make you smile. How about that?
Every time I see it, every time.
Credit to Dhaus in game 2 for killing his desire, making me forge and forge compiling. That was a play.
Killer move.
Oh, my favorite from game 1 was the access denied on desire. I was like, holy crap, I've never seen that happen. That sucks. And then at one point it was warded. I was like, are we going to forge like 3 keys at 30 amber here? Because it was looking to head that way.
Yep. I remember that.
All right, Dhaus, take us out. You can finish our little segment here, and then we will see you next. Well, I don't know if it'll be exactly next week. We'll see you next round.
Yeah. Well, if you're out there and you own this deck, please private message me. I would like to work something out because I am very much enjoying this experience. So, thanks for that.
There's a mystery owner, right? We don't know who owns this. So.
Well, right now, DOK thinks my son and Dhaus own it.
Which are lies!
which is clearly not true. So that's it. I don't know if Sheep's actually around here to stop the recording, but Sheep, you can stop the recording.
I will stop recording on my end.